Welcome to Rob Schmitt tonight. The Joe Biden that we see today has been manufactured by the Democrat Party. You know that. The empty vessel with no political spine, willing to let the most radically left administration in history use him as a Trojan horse. Joe Biden's only real motivations are his own personal vanity, power, and money, which makes him capable of saying just about anything, which is a hallmark of any sleazy Washington politician. Even Joe Biden's face is faker than just about anything you'll see on Instagram, as evidenced here from old pictures from about 15 years ago versus today. Looks a lot different than he used to. Joe Biden is one of the emptiest souls in Washington, I should say. Last night, the president was interviewed by The Daily Show, a safe space interview conducted by Biden sycophant, fake journalist, former Obama staffer / unfunny comedian Kal Penn, who could be Comedy Central's next diversity hire for a show circling the drain since Jon Stewart left. Every part of the 18-minute Daily Show interview with Biden was a cringe-inducing lie, including Biden claiming that he's been an LGBTQ supporter for 62 years, ever since he saw two dudes kissing back in 1961.
I'm curious what your evolution was like on marriage equality.
I remember about to get out of the car and I looked to my right and two well-dressed men in suits kissed each other. I mean, they gave each other a kiss. And then one looked like he was heading to the DuPont building, one looked like he headed to the Hercules Corporation building. And I'll never forget, I turned and looked at my dad. He said, "Joey, it's simple. They love each other. It's simple." No, I'm not joking. It's simple. They love each other. And it's never been, it's just that simple.
You can add that to the vast list of stories that never actually happened. It's such a touching story, though, for anybody with a room temperature IQ, I guess. But the rest of us remember that Joe Biden spent nearly his entire career until about 10 minutes ago being vocally anti-gay. In 1973, 12 years after his alleged beautiful moment of gay clarity, Biden said his gut reaction is that homosexuals are security risks. Then he voted for the Defense of Marriage Act another 23 years later after that, in 1996, effectively banning gay marriage, and then won the White House in 2008, opposing gay marriage along with Barack Obama. Interviewer Kal Penn is actually a gay man and gave no pushback whatsoever to Biden on all the moves he's made that were anti-gay ever since that epiphany he had back in 1961. But Biden doesn't just fake LGBTQ support while his administration rams their agenda down our nation's throat. Everything that Biden does and says is a lie. He bragged last night about the massive climate change bill that's skyrocketing inflation right now, a bill that only passed after it was ironically labeled an Inflation Reduction Act.
And I never would have imagined 12 years ago that something as sweeping on climate as the Inflation Reduction Act would have happened.
What I did was, when I trying to figure out whether I could put something together, I met with them, we had rallies, they showed up in the 2020 election, they showed up in the 2022 election, and we passed the largest environmental plan in all of history, over $368 billion. We got it done.
You got it done by lying to the American people, calling cyanide chicken noodle soup, selling it to the plebes, and then gloating when you convince everybody to eat it. That's how Joe Biden pushed $400 billion of your money into green energy, which was really just a massive kickback for the wealthy donors who got him elected, the same people that he bailed out again this week over at Silicon Valley Bank. Looking back through time, Joe Biden has always been like this, though. In 1974, he did an interview with the Washingtonian just a couple years after his wife and child died in a car crash. 2 years after that, Biden said, "I have no illusions about why I'm such a hot commodity. I'm the youngest man in the Senate. I'm also the victim of a tragic fate, which makes me very newsworthy." It's kind of a dark way of looking at the death of your wife and daughter, I guess. Probably explains why he talks about Beau Biden in almost every speech now. There's a lot of political capital in tragedy. Joe Biden knows that. Certainly helps the approval rating. That article continued saying that Biden defines politics as power. Quoting Biden, it said, "And whether you like it or not, young lady," to the reporter, He says, leaning over his desk to shake a finger at me, "Us cruddy politicians can take away that First Amendment of yours if we want to." Joe Biden as a senator back in the 1970s. Kind of explains our weaponized Justice Department, and perhaps what defines Joe Biden better than anything else is the fact that he fabricated his reason for even running for president, still sticking with a very debunked story even today.
Remember what happened in Charlottesville when those folks came out of the fields at night with torches and swastikas, and the white supremacist, and a young woman was killed. I spoke to her mom. Then President Trump said there were very fine people on both sides. And I give my word, that's when I decided I'm going to do this. But I was worried about doing it because I knew how bitter it would be.
Of course, Donald Trump never called white supremacists very fine people. Even the liberal fact checkers had to admit that one. Additionally, Hunter had been selling Joe Biden's return to politics during the Trump years when they were making a fortune selling influence. So that entire emotional moment that he has repeated countless times in countless interviews about how he ran to save the soul of this country is all a provable fabrication from a man who's lied and fabricated an entire political career. And it's finally catching up with him. An investigation into Biden's corruption is gaining significant ground now. The head of the House Oversight Committee, James Comer, now has even more evidence of how easy it is to buy Joe Biden's influence, including receiving millions and millions of dollars from the nation that threatens this country more than any other on the planet, and that would be China. Deals done through Joe Biden's conduit, his son Hunter. It's not a Hunter story, as we say time and time again. It is a Joe Biden story. Influence peddling, blatantly illegal. What China gets for all the money that they dumped onto the Biden family will be much harder to figure out. Carefully concealed by actions designed by the president to make him look tough on China.